You are listening to Nerd Best Friends, a podcast that covers the nerdy conversations you're already having, or wish you could. It's the nerdiest thing you'll do this week.
This is Analese.
This is Rob.
And I'm Dr. Intern Joan.
And we are your nerd best friends. It's our newest top 5, this time focused on fictional villains, the baddest of the big bads.
This is your Nerd Best Friends official call to action. Grab your devices, hit that subscribe button, give us a rating, and share this episode with your fellow geeks. Let's grow this nerd community together. Every click helps us reach more of you out there. So, what are you waiting for? Join the movement.
This is episode 70, top 5 fictional villains. So excited for this. How are y'all doing? Dr. Intern Joan's back with us. How you doing?
Great. We went to a hockey game last night. They won against our rivals, so our little AHL 16 to 25-year-old team. So
How fun.
Good weekend.
Love it. I love it. So 16 to 25, is it co-ed? Sometimes youth hockey is, depending, but right on. 25, like that's full contact real hockey, right?
Yeah, I feel upset when I see the kids. I cheer for the kids beating each other up, but I do it because I love fights.
Why else do you watch hockey?
Exactly.
Sometimes you see like the sick breakaways and the cool skill and all that kind of stuff, but really you want to hear that crunch.
You do.
I mean, even pro hockey, that's what I want to see.
Absolutely. I mean, you want to see the skill. It's really cool, but like when somebody just gets stapled, it's the best.
Yes, agreed.
How are you all doing?
I did not see hockey yesterday, but still doing well.
It's actually funny. I had a really busy week and I had not been watching the hockey games that I usually watch. They were sitting on my DVR. I actually watched 2.5 hockey games yesterday on my,
gosh.
On my screen as I was doing some stuff.
But were you like working while you were watching, or did you play your hockey drinking game?
No, I was working. I had a lot of stuff to catch up on, homework and emails and stuff like that, but I had the hockey game going on. So yeah, I'm all caught up.
We might have to tell Joan the drinking game at some point, because it's wild. You will not exit a game alive.
It's great. What are you talking about?
It's like Squid Game.
I'm too old for that.
Squid Game. It's not like...
The only thing that's more dangerous than Rob's hockey drinking game is the power hour, which we probably haven't done since our late 30s.
Yeah,
unless you still do one now.
I have not done a power hour in my 40s for sure. I'm up for it. I'd give it a try. It's real fun.
That could be a good 50th birthday.
I don't know about that, but it could be a good patron bonus episode.
Yes, it really could be. It would be very entertaining, that's for sure.
We just have a couple topics and we start talking, set the timer, boom, 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 and see where it goes.
Joan, it's 60, Dixie cups of beer in 60 minutes.
It's an ounce and a half of beer.
It's one per
every
minute
for an hour.
And there's a little series of songs that goes through and they're themed. And I'll be really honest with you. I don't think anytime I've done it with you, Rob, I don't think we've made it through all 60.
No, because we're all blah, 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 blah.
And then it's we're just wasted halfway through. I don't think I've ever heard songs the songs from 35 to 60.
But yeah, I mean, we do it with the podcast. We wouldn't have to do it with the music. We just have a timer going in one of the screens and
that's very true. That's very true. The power hour.
Talk about our nerdy stuff.
Patrons, let us know. I think that's a quality summer content.
Coming soon on Nerd Best Friends After Dark. Gotta love it.
Hey, have you guys seen this new Spider-Man show that they got on Disney Plus?
I saw the ad for it, but I haven't dove in.
It is incredible. It's called Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It's not like the little tiny kid chibi one, which is also very cool and all multiversy, but this one is Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. It's got a totally different art style. It's super cool. It's very gotcha at the beginning, which is fun. It's like, oh, Peter Parker's on his way to school and he missed his bus. That's okay. He opens his backpack and pulls out an apple as he starts walking to school. You know what I mean? It's like, oh no, he didn't do the thing. And then there's all these little Easter eggs, like the different names of the villains as people come by and stuff, and it's got saturated colors, it's got a new art style. It's very much like the very beginnings of it. So if you even look at, say, the poster art for it, you see him web swinging, and he's got this giant backpack of science stuff and huge web slingers because it's his first draft or whatever. So there's all this liquid fluid and CO2 cartridges and stuff. It's super cool. But the thing I wanted to point out to everybody is the theme song. The theme song is called Neighbor Like Me. It's by the Math Club. And you have to do yourself the favor and go listen to this song, Neighbor Like Me, by the Math Club. You know how in the Spider-Verse movies, like those soundtracks are all just like hip hop about Spider-Man? Lil Wayne writes music as if he got paid $100 every time he said the word Spider-Man. Like that kind of like hip hop. It's in that vein, but it samples from the old 1969 or 70s. When was that Spider-Man show? But the classic Spider-Man, it samples from that all the way through. And it's this awesome hip hop, like a banger. So
Okay.
good. So stop your podcast, jump over to your music player, listen to Neighbor Like Me by the Math Club, and then come back and be like, Rob's right. That's a banger. That slaps.
I mean, I love everything about just the title.
Yes.
Right? Neighbor Like Me makes me think of Aladdin and Friend Like Me and Robin Williams. And then the name of the band is The Math Club.
Yes.
You can't get nerdier than this.
It's perfect, like Peter Parker, science nerd turned superhero. Like it really leans into that aspect of it. So it's the same, it's kind of the same story, but at the same time, it's just leaning into different aspects. When you have a character that's been along for that amount of time, it's like, okay, there's all these different things about Peter Parker. Where do we want to explore in this one? And they're going on like the high school science nerd track. It's really cool.
I love it. All right, we're going to check it out. Let's get to some nerd mail.
Nerd mail.
Yeah, you all. I got a little bit of nerd mail. I had a new listener and friend write in. She was curious about the podcast process. She noticed us talking over each other a little bit, and I took that on me as, I am not versed in the ways. But then she said, are you all in the same room? Do you do it at the same time? So she just wanted a little bit more info.
So I think this is a great question because I think the conversation would be the same. And the talking over each other and goofing off would be the same whether we're in the same room or not, right? Like that would be happening with one mic or multiple mics in the same room. We'd still be goofing, cheesin, if you will. But no, we are not in the same room. We have previously used one. I don't know. Do we want to drop names? Do we care? We're not sponsored by any of these companies.
I mean, we used to use one platform and it was Zoom. And,
like everybody else, yeah.
And so it has a lot of automatic, like it'll cut off when somebody starts talking. It has a lot of like automatic ducking and stuff to avoid that talking over. But now we're using another platform that has multiple channels. It's recording on multiple channels at the same time, which makes it sound more natural, right? Because people do talk over each other, but also that's probably why a listener found a difference, because with your editing, it was all very clean. And now that we have these multiple channels, it's more natural, but yeah, it might be a little more messy as well.
Yeah, and our whole purpose, at least for our podcast, is to make it as natural as it is, even though we're, Joan's in a different state. Myself and Rob are on different sides of California, which in some countries would be 3 countries away, or in some continents would be 3 countries away from each other because California is so big. So our goal is to make it as natural as possible versus, there are some podcasts that are a bit more scripted and it's turn A, turn B, turn C, turn B, turn A in terms of a dialogue. But our whole point is the goofin' and the cheesin'.
That's what made me come on. So here we are.
The goofin' and the cheesin'? You're like,
yeah, absolutely.
Goofin' cheese with these guys.
Everything in my life is serious except for nerd best friends.
Funny, everything in my life is cheese.
Except for nerd best friends.
Well, apparently now it is.
That's what makes you the perfect co-host, Rob. You are the cheese. The main cheese. All right, let's get to talk nerdy to me. Rob, Joan, I have to tell you, I am a big fan of true crime. I think I can officially say this. I love it. My partner loves it. I don't understand it because some things are so gross and disturbing that it makes me not want to like it. But I don't know if it's like the murder mystery behind it. I don't know if it's psychology. Like I've definitely read some books like The Psychology of Dexter, and I'm meaning Showtime's Dexter. Phenomenal book about psychology behind it. There was a teacher at one of the schools I taught at before that did her whole psychology class around Buffy. And just, I don't know. I don't understand it, but I love true crime. I know you don't, Rob. You don't like the gore and the human evilness behind it.
I don't like the gore and I don't like the realness of it. I also wonder how you reconcile the idea of people using tragedy in real life to make money. And like off these victims and like glorifying terrible people at the expense of victims for profit.
That's a good point. And I certainly have a line for that. It depends on how something is being written, produced, or sent out. for consumption. I maybe put some rose-colored glasses on for this, but I do believe a lot of the really quality shows that tell the story of a true crime incident are not doing it for the money, even though they know they're going to make money off of it. I think when they're done well, they're done to tell a story, and they're done to tell us how and show us how we can avoid something like this with future people. Yeah, I don't know another way to explain it, but yeah, there's certainly some that I've turned off going like, oh no, they're just stretching this out for hours and hours and hours, and they're repeating the same thing to get me to watch the next episode and the next episode and the next episode. Not going to watch that because that's purely trying to keep me online or keep me on the stream or get me to watch X percent so they can make X percent money. But there's some that are done really well that retell stories in a very natural and interesting way. And I don't know, I think about Jeffrey Dahmer in this vein, right? Like there's definitely
you knew him.
Jeff, your good buddy.
Your good buddy
Jeff.
My buddy Jeff.
I think about some of the media that came, like there's a book that came out really quickly after he was arrested, and it's a horrible book. It tells you nothing that you could not read in the newspapers, and very clearly that book was written to make money, right? To capitalize on a story. And then I read the comic book My Friend Dahmer, which was written by a dude who was in school with Jeff Dahmer and actually talks about how they recognized all these signs and where were all the adults? Why were teachers allowing this guy to show up just drunk at 7 a.m. at 16 years old? And we now know why that was happening, but there were all of these signs in which they were there and ignored, right? And today's society wouldn't ignore that. A kid showing up super drunk day after day after day after day at 7 o'clock in the morning, or, you know, he would sit in the parking lots till late at night just guzzling alcohol at 16 and 17 years old would have been noticed now versus in the late 60s, early 70s, right? I don't think that guy wrote that book to make money, and maybe he did make money, and ultimately we all have to live and put food on our table, but he told the stories because he had an interesting take on this very horrible person who did very horrible things. And he makes it very clear he thinks he's a very horrible person who did very horrible things, and tells the story completely up to the day that he commits his first murder. And at that point, I have no sympathy for him because he could have taken 10 other routes out of his life than do what he did. And he made his choices. So I think some true crime media is digestible and telling a story to help us learn people and help us learn how to recognize these signs and help us learn on how to try to keep these things from continuing to happen.
And that's your line. So you're not watching a Lifetime movie remake of Jeffrey Dahmer's history, the fictionalized version. Yeah.
But I did watch Monsters, which I know Netflix was thrown through the rakes for this show depicting Jeffrey Dahmer versus sympathy for the victims. In this case, it highlighted the real true problematic thing that happened in Milwaukee because he was a gay man and his victims were gay men, where there was a neighbor he lived with who had been calling police for months and months and months because she lived right next door to him and heard a bunch of stuff, but was too scared herself as an older black woman to do anything but call the cops. Please do something about it. There's even a story where one of his younger victims escaped and was with this neighbor and someone else, and they called the cops, and the cops released this 14-year-old back to Jeff Dahmer. And this kid was drugged, and he's like, oh no, he's 18. He's my boyfriend. He lives with me. And the two women were like, no, this is not the case. And they still released him back to Jeff Dahmer. And it was one of his victims. So there's a story that Netflix told that was very purposeful in that series. So that's my line, right? They're telling a story. Niecy Nash won an Emmy for her portrayal of that neighbor, and it's phenomenal. And I don't know why I like it, but I do. Anyways, I bring that up in Talk Nerdy to Me because we're going to do a trailer swap, and we're going to play the trailer for Total Conundrum, which is a podcast all about true crime and talking about the psychology behind the brain. Their logo's a brain if you look for them, listeners, and why people do the things they do. And it's here's the trailer.
In a world where true crime meets the supernatural and the unexplained.
Where true crime and chills go hand in hand.
Welcome to Total Conundrum, the podcast that explores the dark, the eerie, and the downright mysterious.
Join us as we embark on a spine-tingling journey through the mysteries that keep you up at night.
We're diving deep into true crime stories, uncovering the most baffling cases, and exploring the twisted minds behind them.
But we don't stop there. We're also exploring the paranormal, from haunted houses to cryptids and all the creepy things that go bump in the night. Get ready for some supernatural thrills.
And what sets us apart? Prepare for a dose of dark humor as we navigate through the creepy and bizarre.
We've got it all. Bone-chilling tales, banter, and mind-boggling conundrums. You won't know whether to scream or laugh.
So grab your favorite snack, turn down the lights, and join us for a roller coaster ride of true crime and the supernatural, sprinkled with a bit of comic banter.
Stay curious, stay captivated, and let's dive into the world of Total Conundrum.
Now available on your favorite podcast platform. Get ready to be captivated, creeped out, and cracked up with Total Conundrum.
Thanks for hanging out with us here at Total Conundrum. Please make sure to check out our website and blog at totalconundrum.com for news, upcoming events, merch, bloopers, and additional hysteria. You never know what will pop up, so be sure to follow along. If you want to show your support for Total Conundrum and gain access to all of our bonus content, please visit our Patreon page. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The links are available in our show notes. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, or stories to share, please email us at contact@totalconundrum.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate the love. Keep on creeping on, mother cluckers.
Yep.
Watch Boston Strangler on Hulu because it's the story of how the two female reporters broke the story over all the men. So it's a different, it's not about the Boston Strangler, it's about the things around. So that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Hot tip. Thank you. Send in your deep thoughts, nerd questions, or talk nerdy to me subjects that you'd like us to cover by sliding into our DMs or send those topics in an email to podcast@nerdbestfriends.com. And now we're on to the top 5 fictional villains. It's been a while since we've done a top 5.
I think they're fun because they kind of focus our conversation, but also I had so much, this was a Rob idea, and I had so much fun. Top 5 was difficult. Like, everybody sign up for the Patreon and come to the bonus because I have 15 villains on my list.
Yes.
And I know I'm going to only have to stick to 5 during the show. And they're all so good. And you start thinking about it and it's like, man, this fits my personality as far as like all the hobbies and stuff I do and how much I love like the monster and the villain and playing the bad guy in Dungeons and Dragons and running games and stuff like that. I'm like, I love these guys for all their stupid faults and tropes.
That's what I realized. I thought, what am I going to do? I could say like the common villains like that we all know, but how do I personalize it and make it me? What scared me? What made me, basically.
Same thing. I'm like, oh, I could do a bunch of Disney villains and something from this. And I'm like, no, let me think about, I thought about people I hated. And that takes me to my number 5.
One on my list that is specifically just like that. Just like, what scared me when I was a little kid that I still think about? And we're going to get to that one too.
Gosh, I guess if I use that, hold on, I'm going to add one to my,
I didn't do that for all of them, but there was one where I was like, this has to make the list because I had nightmares about it when I was a child.
I'm adding one to my Patreon that still scares me as an adult and scared the crud out of me as a child. So
Awesome.
go to
Are
the
we gonna
Patreon
go-
as well.
Are we going to go in order, or do I need to go get a die because I don't have one?
So we're just going to go in order the chart because we don't want to waste any time. We want to get to all 5 of each. That means 15 villains in this episode and who knows how many in the bonus episode for Patreons. So let's go. I'll start with number 5. If you have never seen Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards, the most tense-filled moments of this film, brilliantly played by Christopher Waltz, is the character Colonel Hans Landa. And he's a German soldier in this, and the film opens with him coming to out-of-the-way ranch he's got a book full of people that they're looking for to put them in camps. And it is so good. And it is so tense. And he wins. This spoiler alert, he wins every single instance that he's there. So if you have not seen the film, fast forward about 15, 20 seconds. But the opening scene, he's looking for a family. The young girl in this family runs away and disappears. She goes and lives a new life somewhere else. He ends up in her movie theater, and they're going to arrange to have Hitler watch a Nazi-friendly movie in her movie theater. And she's going under a new name and pretending she's German so she doesn't get put into camps. He ends up he's like the head of security for Hitler. He ends up in the scene in this restaurant. She knows who he is. He doesn't know, or maybe he suspects, but this scene where he's eating an apple strudel and talking to her about her theater, and she's holding it all in, and it's brilliantly acted by the two of them. It is so good. I hate this guy. He is the worst villain. So good. That's my number 5.
That movie scares that I can't. I watched the open. I tried. I can't.
That opening scene is so intense.
Too real. Speaking of Rob's thing, it's too real for me. Can't.
Yes, it's good.
All right, you and your Nazis. Speaking of Nazis,
Punch him.
my number 5 is one of the most iconic villains of all time. It's number 5, but it's one that has to be mentioned, right? And that is Darth Vader. Darth Vader is Darth Vader, and what I like about it is he's always been Darth Vader. From the moment he showed up on screen in 1979 to now, he's Darth Vader. And when we look at that timeline, right, especially the 80s, everything was about marketing. Everything was about selling toys and books and all of this kind of thing. So contemporaries of Darth Vader, like your Cobra Commander or I had one in my head, Skeletor, all these things, like these are villains from the 80s, and the thing that you get with those is toys. So it's like, okay, well, here's the Cobra Commander that looks like he does on the show, but we changed the costume and updated it for this other movie, and you can get this. But if you get this comic book, he's in a different costume with a different mask, and so we can sell the toys on that. And same thing with like Skeletor. It's like, well, you can have Skeletor, but you also have battle damage Skeletor, and you also have Skeletor in plate mail, and you also have Skeletor, but he's more of a wizard, and like all this stuff. Darth Vader didn't need any of that. When Darth Vader shows up in a show in 2025, he's the same damn Darth Vader as he was in 1979. There's no updates. There's no cheese. There's no pile on. It's Darth Vader. He's going to be slow and purposeful. He's going to have that breathing. He's going to have that same music, and he's going to have a red lightsaber, and it's going to be scary, and he's going to mess somebody up. That's Darth Vader. No extras. No frills. No extra anything. Darth Vader.
That's a very, very strong entry from you, Rob. I agree. You know what reminds me of, and I don't remember the character's name, in Inspector Gadget. Oh. His nemesis, Dr. Claw, because you never see him. He's just sitting there with his one, you only ever see one arm, and it's like, I'll get you next time, Like, it is the same no matter what happens. Well, he's just trying to get.
I think that was the downfall of the Matthew Broderick Inspector Gadget movie.
Yes.
They showed Dr. Claw. It's like, this isn't the right way to do this, folks.
Right.
Oh, gosh,
Dr. Intern Joan.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of someone who is the same over time, my number 5 is Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty.
Beautiful.
I think from 1959 to 2014, when it transitioned to Angelina Jolie telling the story, both of them beautiful, devious, sophisticated, soft-spoken, elegant, manipulative. The costume of the winged robe and dress that she can shapeshift into a dragon, that she can manipulate plants and put curses on people. And speaking to my psychology background, it's all because her origin story is heartbreak, and she's turned into this person. So I love an origin story, and I love her.
It is.
I thought she was played wonderfully by Angelina Jolie.
Wonderfully.
It is lucky that you filled out the form first, because Maleficent was definitely going to be on my list, but I saw that you already had it there. So I'm like, okay, cool. We're still going to be able to talk to this character. This is a high fantasy villain. I love this, like the magic, the nature control. And then she turns into a dragon. That dragon is the coolest thing that Disney Cell Animation has ever done. To go back and see, I don't know, what year did that movie even come out? Like the 40s or 50s or something?
1959.
1959. Yeah. To see that awesome dragon and the dude stabs it, the green poisonous blood is spilling all over the place. Like, that's the hardest Disney movie there is. It's really, really good. I love that freaking dragon, and I love that it's a cool wizard that turns into the dragon. She's got all those spells, and she's just wicked. Her lair is super cool. Maleficent rocks.
And the best part of Fantasmic, isn't that Fantasmic when the dragon comes out at the end?
Yes, you are correct.
Yep. Yes.
Best part of Fantasmic, or at least the old version of it, right?
Old version,
yeah. The 90s version of Fantasmic. Great stuff. I'm going to go on to my number 4. We all know who the Joker is. The Joker is an iconic villain across Batman. There are many different versions of him, many different ways the story is told. I am particularly going to bring up the version of the Joker played by Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight in 2008. He is not goofy like the Joker can be sometimes. He brilliantly tells different reasons why his face the way it is, so you never quite know what is the real story throughout that film. He is always one step ahead of Batman and puts him in these scenarios that are tough and hard. He is no nonsense violent. I think of the pencil scene. I know we've talked about that on this podcast before. Shockingly violent, unapologetically violent, and his whole purpose is mayhem. And the quote in this film that I use sometimes to help make sense of the world comes from, what's his face, the butler, where he says, Alfred, thank you. I was going to say something else, that wasn't it. Alfred says, some men just want to watch the world burn. And that encompasses how Heath Ledger played the Joker in The Dark Knight. It's so good.
True psychopath.
It's such a good. Yes.
True psychopath profile.
Yes. Great villain. It's such a true psychopath, like Joan says, that like people will study it. They'll look at all of the lines and how it was written. One of my favorite fan theories that I've seen as far as dissecting that character is that he is a war veteran who snapped, looking at analyzing how hostage negotiation works and how strategy works as far as like separating and breaking up camps. It's really cool to look into and so quotable. Like you said, some men like to just want to watch the world burn. Why so serious? Like all of those. Oh, and my favorite one, and I use this gif all the time whenever we're like doing something scary, is the one where he goes, and here we go. Is one of my favorites. Just absolutely iconic. I mean, that was 2008. That's coming up on almost 20 years ago.
Almost 20 years ago.
I think it's still as relevant as ever. And of course, all the whack jobs at the comic book conventions, cosplay, so that character still. It's all Jokers and Deadpools.
Yeah, that's true. But there's a lot more of Heath Ledger's Joker in costume than any other that I typically see. What I mean. I mean, the physicality of how he played it too, right? It's one thing to be the Joker. It's one thing to be the Joker. And simple things like how he constantly runs his tongue along the inside of his mouth as if it's really scarred on the inside.
Yeah,
like there's just these little bits and pieces he just nails. It's so good.
Great choice. My number 4 is Megatron from the Transformers. Fantastic villain. And here's why. That character evolved over time, like as the series went on and as the comic books and stuff were going through, they kind of delved into the core of who that character is, right? He is kind of a mustache twirling bad guy, right? He wants to conquer Earth and take all of its energy. He has an enemy in Optimus Prime and the Autobots who he wants to completely destroy. But the thing about Transformers is it always starts with the war on Cybertron. Why are these robots here? Like any version we get, it's always going to go back to there was this war on Cybertron. And a lot of writers will come and look at that and realize the Decepticons, the bad guys, are the rebels. They're the ones that are trying to upset the status quo, which is basically this kind of a monarchy in that sense, where the primes have the matrix of leadership, right? The spark that's in their chest that all the thing is about. And that is not accessible to everyone. There's only certain types of robots that get to be in that echelon or whatever. And so he's fighting against that and has started this war. He's basically brought up the proletariat to destroy the bourgeoisie kind of thing. And what I realize about Megatron is he's actually quite magnanimous, and he rules with a lot of fairness, a lot of equity and calm, because a lot of times what they'll do is they'll take Megatron away for a while. In different storytellings, it's always like, oh, Megatron is gone, or Megatron is defeated, or he's off doing something else. And what happens to the Decepticons? And it's always Starscream, right? Starscream is that like jet who's always like, yeah, Megatron, he's a big old punk. If I was in charge, I'd do it this way and blah, blah, blah. And so sometimes he gets that chance. And when he does, when Starscream is the leader of the Decepticons, the first thing he does, puts on a crown. I'm the king of the Decepticons now. And everybody's kind of running around. There's no control. You'll see them just like shooting each other and like smashing the little ones, you know, this kind of brawl, like, oh, they're evil, evil bad guys, and they like turn on themselves and this kind of thing. But when Megatron comes back, all that stops. Megatron doesn't put on a crown. Megatron doesn't like, look at me, I'm in charge and we're the evil guys. He shows up and it's calm. We have a purpose. We have a focus. We are leading a rebellion against an unfair power structure. And we have this vision of the future of what we're going to do. Now, it's evil and he takes what he wants and he kills people to get it. Like, he's definitely a bad guy. He's a villain. But to see what it's like without him and then how he comes back in is super cool. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that multidimensional. Right. And when it started, it probably wasn't. But as it evolved, it's like, wow, you know what? Megatron's like, he's got a lot of good leadership skills and talents.
It's not chaos. He doesn't lead through chaos. He leads through purpose.
Right.
And you're blowing my mind a little bit because you just told it in terms of social justice terms. And so are the Autobots really the ones we should be hating? Like, I'm very confused right now. I'm going to have to go think about it after this. So
You have to watch more Transformers.
yeah, I'm confused.
Or read more Transformers.
Oh, I've got recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
We can read some Transformers.
Let's do it this summer.
All right.
Yes.
Put it on the list. My number 4 came from the what scared me the most when I was younger. And it is from 1985's Return to Oz, Princess Mombi. Look her up if you need to see a picture of her. So she is prominent in the second book of Frank Baum's The Marvelous Land of Oz, and Return to Oz is the 1985 film. She was actually the Queen of the North before Glinda stripped her of her power. So here's this whole other lore, right? Wicked's having its moment right now. In the movie, she makes a deal with the Gnome King. If she traps this other princess in Oz, he makes her a princess, gives her 30 beautiful heads that she can switch depending on her mood. So in the movie, you have her...
It's amazing.
Unscrewing her head, putting on a different head, and she threatens the main Dorothy character that she'll also have her head. If you have not watched this movie...
How have I not seen this?
Coolest.
You need to get on it. Feruza Bialik is the Dorothy character.
No way.
The monkeys are the scariest freaking things I've ever seen, and I will make a plug for the Tin Man is the original TikTok. His name is TikTok. He solid. If you haven't watched it, listeners, you got to. It scared
That's going on the
crap
list
out of me.
too.
I have never even, I don't know that I ever knew this movie existed. The villain has 30 heads that they switch between, and they're collecting more heads.
Yes.
No wonder why it terrified you as a kid, but my gosh, that's going on the list.
That's awesome. I'm definitely stealing that for one of my games.
Absolutely. I want to rewatch it now. I thought, oh my gosh, after we talk about it, I'm going to have to go watch it.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
We'll go to number 3. Chose the character Bellatrix Lestrange exists in 2 realms. Obviously, the films, Harry Potter, and also the books. And Bellatrix in the books is a villain you love to hate. Again, always one step ahead until she meets her demise. But I think because Helena Bonham Carter is such an amazing actress that she really brings Bellatrix to life, who is, again, just a villain who loves chaos and hurting people and doing what she thinks is right, which is working for Voldemort and getting rid of anybody who's not them. Played so wonderfully in the films. That's my number 3 pick. Is Bellatrix Lestrange in the books is one villain, but how she's played by Helena Bonham Carter is just magnificent. So if you're not a Harry Potter fan, at least go find some clips of her playing Bellatrix because she gets in it.
And she would have been on my list, but you're the one who did your list first. So I was like, okay, then I don't have to talk about her. Because I agree.
She's amazing. And Helena Bonham Carter is just an amazing actress and the perfect pick to have brought Bellatrix to screen. I don't think you could cast that any better.
My number 3 is the one that I had mentioned at the top, where this one had to go on the episode because this is the one that scared me when I was a kid. Okay. Even though I knew, like, as I got older, I'm like, man, that's so cool. But it was nightmare fuel. And this is Gmork the big black wolf from the Never-Ending Story movie.
Yes.
If you remember the Never-Ending Story, you got Atreyu and he's walking through and he's going through the swamps of despair and all this stuff. And this is right after, I believe, when he loses the horse, when Artak sinks in the quicksand, and you have just the most heart-wrenching moment of our young hero. And he's just going through the swamps and he's totally just beaten down. He's at his worst. He's lost. He's dirty. He's trudging through. He's exhausted. And these eyes pop out of the cave and it starts talking with those big teeth. Like, it is a Jim Henson masterpiece, this big black furred wolf. And it definitely does like the villain trope of like, I'm looking for a boy. Have you seen him? Kind of thing. And just like talks him up and like makes his case. Like, he does the villain monologue thing about, like, oh, this is the nothing and I'm this way, but I must find this boy. Just kidding. I know it's you the whole time. And he jumps out at him and he's like, ah! And he gets stabbed and stuff. It's super cool. That wolf scared me, dude.
I meet you with that. Yes, 100%. That's like, I remember actually just fast forwarding through that part until he gets stabbed when I was really young. That's a good call.
He's super creepy. It's awesome. And of course, it's those practical effects I love, that Jim Henson puppetry. The teeth are like wet and just awesome. Yeah, Gmort from Never-Ending Story.
That's a good call. I'm also going to say what I remember about that is the tension, because he's playing with him. He knows exactly who he is, and he's toying around on giving him a direct answer. And as a kid, you can't really comprehend why you're feeling that tension. Like, you're emotionally drained because you watched him go through all of these things. And he finally gets to the end, and it's like, okay, this has got to be where he gets to be the good guy. And this wolf it's like he's playing with his dinner.
Yeah,
it is so phenomenal. Yeah.
Classic.
I have never seen Never-Ending Story. I think because it was too fantasy for me at that time in my life.
Okay.
And now I'm afraid it will be too cheesy because of all the advances in technology we have. Is it a book? Should I read it?
It is a book.
It is a book. I think the movie's better.
The movie is better.
I don't think it has to be cheesy. When I look at it, I don't see it as cheesy. I just appreciate the filmmaking from the time. But I'm a huge like Jim Henson fan, and thinking, and when I see it, I'm like, oh my gosh, what an amazing like avant-garde thing it was to do, to be able to bring these monsters and weird creatures to life using these practical effects. So I don't see the cheese. I just see the artistry of it.
Yeah, they did such a good job at the time that it was like cutting edge at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the puppetry, right? They did puppetry instead of cheap effects.
It also has a lot of child actors, and child actors, classically aren't great, but they're fine. Honestly, Joan, it's like the core story is about a kid who loves to read, and he goes to the bookstore to avoid his bullies, and he finds this book that he can't put down, and he like sneaks away on the rainy nights to finish this book because he's so enraptured. Like, I think it would speak to you.
Maybe we can live watch it and live tweet it. Not tweet,
yes.
But maybe we
look at all these.
This is another summer content.
Summer Patreon content going on the list.
We could stream it, right? Like we can do that on Twitch. You could play the movie
on
and
Discord.
We could watch it, or Discord. Yeah, perfect.
We have a Discord. Yeah.
That would be super cool.
Summer movie night.
Had me a blast.
That is the only way I'll watch it.
Boom, done. All right, you're number 3, Joan.
Moving to number 3. Okay, I like soap operas. I am a nerd about soap operas. Been to conventions, met the actor. And General Hospital is the longest running soap opera out there. My supervillain from this is Helena Cassadine, originally played by Elizabeth Taylor in the 70s. Then played by Constance Towers, whom I understand is the aunt or a great aunt of someone we were in the marching band with at USC, Analese, and I never got to meet her in person. But she is the antagonist to the super couple Luke and Laura. Luke and Laura Spencer, the 80s, 90s were all about their adventures. You guys are looking at me blank because you have to be a soap opera fan to know. Helena's obsessed with Luke. She'll do anything to like ruin his life. Classic soap opera style. She lives forever. She becomes paralyzed and mute. She recovers. She dies. They freeze her. She comes back to life.
Yes.
Right now she's dead, but who knows? The last time
ghost of
she was
her,
on
maybe?
screen was in 2015, so who knows? But yeah, kidnapping, manipulation, faking DNA results, brainwashing, like all of the good stuff. And last year she was on the list of worst mothers in America for how she treats her family and extended family. Just for a soap opera villain, pretty solid.
I will admit, I almost put Victor Kiriakis on the list for laughs, but I didn't know enough about him except that everybody knows him from soap operas. Is that Days of Our Lives, I think? Victor Kiriakis, same thing. He dies and he keeps coming back and he's always evil and is...
You are speaking of another TV network. I don't even know him. I don't want to know him.
Okay.
How dare you bring him up? We're talking about G.
Yeah, we are, exactly.
I don't know the difference between any of these.
She had to make it on my list.
But it sounds like kind of the same thing. That soap opera villain that's like,
Yeah.
they murder somebody,
coming
they
back.
die, they come back. It was this person all along. We haven't seen them in 6 months, and now they're here and doing it again.
Or they're wearing the face of someone else.
It's a little bit Lex Luthor-y, right?
Oh.
A little bit
so,
Lex
yeah.
Luthor-y, yeah.
Oh, especially Silver Age Lex Luthor. Absolutely.
Yes. The face you got for me is, I don't know who you're talking about that we marched with, that is a great aunt of...
Right. Well, if they listen, write in, but also I don't want to put their name out there without permissions.
Yeah, tell me later. Definitely off the pod. I didn't know that was a thing. Or maybe I did and it's just gone because, we're old and that was so long ago. That's 30 years ago, Joan. So
yeah, I know. Don't talk about it.
I have told this story in the podcast, but before we had a Dr. Intern Joan, my college freshman year roommate, who was horrible, right? Her aunt was Wonder Woman, Linda Carter.
Well, yeah, that you have definitely told that story.
Yeah. So, okay. Good call there, Joan. Although I have no idea what you're talking about. I have an idea of the trope. I think we all have an idea of the tropes of how that works. And what a way to be a villain for decades. A villain for decades. That's like high level. Number 2 for me, my number 2 and number 1 are all based off of Stephen King. Should not be a surprise to any of our listeners or to my nerd best friends here. But I'm going to start with Jack Torrance from The Shining, but in particular, how he was played by Jack Nicholson in the film. And we know famously Stephen King was not a fan of the film, but I think was a fan of how Jack Nicholson portrayed Jack Torrance, and it's iconic. It is used, spoofed, or referenced to in many other pop culture pieces, whether it's horror genre or not. His descent into madness through the Shining Hotel is even more appreciated if you know more reasons why through the book, because the book obviously explains it a little bit better than the film does, but knowing the background of the book and watching his descent into madness is so strong and so iconic. And now it's super creepy to see his son as an adult mimic his face. He's in I think it's called Smile 2. And there were promos where he's standing up and smiling, and it's Jack Torrance. Like, it is bizarre how it's so good. Iconic. Jack Nicholson in The Shining, 1980.
Amazing. Yeah, that some of those scenes from that movie just stick in your head.
Yep.
All right, my number 2 could have been my number 1. There's a lot of ones that could be my number 1, but my number 2 is from the comic book series X-Men. And this is, of course, Magneto. And
yes,
one of the best things, something that we've gotten farther away from as time has gone by, is origin of Magneto. They do a really good job reminding us of it in like that first X-Men movie that came out in like 97, maybe 95, whenever that X-Men movie
in the 90s, yeah. Was it 95?
90s.
Because that's the name of that show now, is like X-Men 95 or something like that?
That's X-Men 97, and they do a great job on there as well.
Yeah, okay.
That's another wonderful Magneto. But he has these World War II origins where he and his parents were in a concentration camp. And you see that like the very first scene of the X-Men movie franchise, that little boy getting ripped away from his parents in a concentration camp by Nazis, and that trauma and that event triggering his mutant powers. And you see like the gates get all like bent and askew and stuff like that. That's his perspective. That's his perspective on humanity. He has seen and lived the worst that people can be. And now that he has seen that difference and that there is a dividing line between what he calls Homo sapien versus Homo superior, the people who have the mutant genes and these powers, he has turned himself into the very thing that he hates, that has given him that trauma, rather than what we would like to see and what heroes would do in like a post-World War II era of, hey, we've seen this and now we're fighting against it. We can be better. Genocide is not the way. He's like, no, genocide is the way. I've lived it. And if I don't do it for my people, it will be done to me. And just having that trauma feed his mission and vision as he goes forward and becomes this like terrible supervillain who wants to rule the world is deep. It's awesome. It is not just blah ha ha. It comes from a place. And that's where I find I really love these villains, is where it's like, I don't like it, but I get it. There's something there that's more than just, well, he's the bad guy because the good guys wear red and the bad guys wear green.
What I'm hearing, Rob, is you can do this in a fantasy world, but you can't do it in real life based on all of our conversations thus far. You don't like it like Hans and Glorious Bastards. If it's too real, true crimey, you don't want it. But if it's fantasy and it's evil and it has this origin story, you're into it.
I guess so.
You know who else who else is Homo superior? Me. Get it?
On this podcast, you absolutely are. That was amazing.
I held that in and did not interrupt you. Aren't you so proud of me?
Does this platform have the cricket sound effect like Discord does?
Oh, no, I can totally put it in.
Except I loved it. That was fantastic.
Yeah, it was great. Our audience is laughing, Rob.
Got him.
I love a good dad joke.
Got him.
You know, you make a good point though, Rob. Villains are even better when you can, I won't say sympathize with them, but you can understand their point of view. I think of what's his face in Endgame with the glove. What's his
Thanos.
face? Thank you. You know, he has a point. Right? Humanity is so awful. Everyone's awful to each other. If I eliminate half of humanity, then we can start over. And I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand where he's coming from.
So Thanos did not make my list, either my prime list or my other list.
Same.
Because, yes, like, we get it. He's like, well, if there were more resources for everyone, then everyone would be better off. So I'll just take away all, half the people real clean, and then everyone will be in this bountiful utopia. Okay, I mean, that's a reason for what you're doing. It's just dumb.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
we didn't put him on the list for that reason, but I guess what I'm meaning is, as you just expressed, if you can understand the trauma, or the person has a real strong backstory to the reasons behind what they're doing, and it's not just hate, which is Thanos is just hate, right? He's just bitter and he hates. That's not as strong as the characters on our lists, where there might be some backstory.
There's kind of that trope where, like, good villains always think they're the hero of their own story, right? And so we play with that a bunch for, whatever it might be. Darth Vader thinks he's bringing balance and order to the universe. Megatron thinks that he is toppling an unfair regime, right? And Magneto, he's like, I know this is wrong and evil, but if I don't do it, somebody else will, and I'm going to be at the bottom of the table. So here we go, kids.
Yeah.
Buckle up. It's human genocide.
Well, and this kind of transitions, follow me here if it doesn't. My villain number 2, I had to think back to when I was reading a ton as a teenager and early adulthood. I was obsessed with serial killers. I was obsessed with true crime thrillers, like fictional thrillers.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. I had to stop reading because I got nightmares, but ever since I've been back on this podcast, I'm reacquainting myself with all of these things that I love.
You're welcome.
And so my number 2,
it's not my fault.
True. It's Analese's fault. She recommended Chew to me, and I'm like, oh yeah. 100%. And then now it's just...
Chew is so good.
It's just falling from there. But my number 2 is Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
So he was created by Thomas Harris in the tetralogy of books, starting with Red Dragon in 1981. And recently, Hannibal Rising, 2006 is the most recent one. Played by Anthony Hopkins in the film The Silence of the Lamb. He is a cannibalistic serial killer and former forensic psychiatrist. I love an origin story. It's my field of my chosen career. So I love to know why and how and what gets into these people's minds, which is, I think, my origin story of why I became a psychologist in the first place. This guy's brilliant. He's cultured and sophisticated, but he's deadly and he's lethal and he eats people. All of it's brilliant. It's quotable. Anybody want to try and do the quote for me?
No, because you'll correct me. I don't have them all.
It puts the lotion on the skin.
I mean,
but that's a good quote from the movie, but that's not Hannibal Lecter.
But he ate somebody's liver with some fava beans and
Chianti.
That scene, chilling.
Anthony Hopkins is brilliant.
It made me want to go back and read the books. I just didn't realize how many books were villain origin stories before they became movies. So
did Anthony Hopkins just have a tragic death? Was that him? Anthony Hopkins, did he just have a tragic death?
Was
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman, yeah.
Yeah, which is it's a very sad story.
Yes. So Silence of the Lambs isn't about Hannibal Lecter, and that's the thing. Like what you quoted, Rob, is the actual serial killer they're going after. Texas Bill, what is his name?
Something
Bill?
like that.
Yeah.
I don't even know because he's not
He's got a funky name, but Jodie Foster's character is trying to figure out how to get to this guy who's killing women and goes to speak to Hannibal Lecter to understand some psychology behind it. But man, Anthony Hopkins, I just saw a thread on Threads about like who nailed a role so hard that it should never be played by anyone else again. This is one answer. Anthony Hopkins and Hannibal Lecter, because it takes, I think he's a better villain on the screen than he is in the books.
On the screen, but the origin story, even traumatizing, just like Rob's World War II Magneto, just as traumatizing.
Good stuff. Good,
gross.
Scary stuff. Yes.
I'm sure Analese will bring us a fun one for her number 1.
Well, this is villain, so I don't know what kind of fun you want to be having here, Rob.
Mine's going to be fun. Just wait.
Okay. All right. Well, my number 1, again, Stephen King, is Annie Wilkes in Misery. The book came out in the 80s, but I, again, am specifically talking about someone who nailed a role so hard that it should never be played by anyone else again, and that is Kathy Bates. I am such a fan of Kathy Bates. and how she played Annie Wilkes in Misery is phenomenal because she has trauma. You find out she's a murderer. She murders little kids as a nurse in a pediatric hospital, and that she got caught doing it a bunch of times, but never enough that they could lock her away for it. You find all that out later. She is just a true psychopath, but in a totally different way than, say, Heath Ledger's Joker. In a totally different way, she's gone mad than Jack Torrance in The Shining. She's just going to do whatever she needs to do to get what she wants, and she keeps winning. I'm recognizing a theme in my own villains list is like, they're the ones that you just in the pit of your stomach kind of hate because they keep winning. How does someone murder little kids in different hospitals over the course of decades and not be in jail for it because she was able to get out on a technicality? Like, she's one step ahead. And when she gets Paul Sheldon, the fictional writer, in a car accident and drags him to her house and holds him hostage because she's upset that he killed the character Misery, traumatizes him, psychologically hurts him, physically hurts him to write the book and bring her back to life is her whole purpose, and eventually meets a bloody end by the hands of Paul Sheldon. But you think mostly throughout that book and mostly throughout that film that he's not going to survive it. And he barely does. And the film depicts this beautifully in the final scene of the film where he's sitting and eating dinner at a restaurant and someone comes by with a dessert tray and he sees her. He sees Annie Wilkes instead of the woman who's actually there in the restaurant. So she permanently damages him even though she dies in the end. Kathy Bates, masterful.
And she is what stops me from becoming a true obsessive fan because she's the definition of obsessive fan.
For sure, I would never tell Sarah Michelle Gellar that I'm her number one fan. Ever. No, same, Joan. It makes me go, okay, in those really rare moments that we've gotten to meet someone, to be able to say, like, calmly just say, thank you, I'm a big fan, I appreciate you. Like at Helmuth Con, I was thinking about Annie Wilkes the whole time to not come off like a psychopath to these Buffy actresses we were meeting.
It's like the guy in Blades of Glory who's like, I want to crawl into your skin and wear it to the blonde guy. Like, yes. we don't want to be that guy. We don't want to be that fan.
And I know that happens. That's the truly scary thing. Oh, good times.
Hang on. Joan, you read a lot. I have run into this trope like lately, like in the last year, maybe 3 times of going through a book, reading a book, and like the important character in the book is an author. And it's all about like, well, this author's the one who's like the most important person stuff. Does that suck? Is that like super common?
Yeah, it kind of is.
It really is, right?
You write what you know, or you write what you think people want to read. So I don't know.
I guess every time I come up on, I'm like, oh, here we go again. This person. Oh, like, oh yeah, it's all about the author, especially like in high fantasy books, right? It's all about like the person who pens the tome that keeps the history and the power of the whatever. Like, oh, geez, get out of here.
Power of stories, though. The stories we tell are the stories that shape our future, right?
The Mary Sues.
Lighten the mood, Rob. Lighten our mood.
My number one is a fun one. My number one is someone that I spent a lot of time with when I was a kid because I watched this show a ton, and that is Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane from the show Dukes of Hazzard.
My gosh.
You gotta love these guys. And it is one, it's like, it's a completely different world. I've never even been, I think, to the South, like a state that would count as the South. Like, I don't know a lot about the South. Anything that I do know about the South is from the Dukes of Hazzard between 1979 and 1985. So I just assume that's how it works. But I do know that there's these like Southern colonels or these Kentucky colonels that like, I think that was a real thing. Or maybe not. Maybe it just was invented in Smokey and the Bandit, because I also know before listeners call in and they're like, well, actually, I know that Dukes of Hazzard was a Smokey and the Bandit ripoff. I know that Buford T. Justice from Smokey and the Bandit is the original character that this is all based off of. But that movie had a lot of swears, and so I wasn't allowed to watch it when I was 5 years old or whatever. But I could watch the Dukes of Hazzard. You've got this boss, right? He's a Southern town colonel. He's just a boss. He's not the mayor. He's not the governor. He's the boss because he controls all the money, and he's like all in the underground. He's the guy sneaking slot machines into the city. He's the one who does the racketeering and the protection, things. And the best part is he manipulates the politicians. He manipulates the town into hiring this sheriff who is completely unqualified for this position. It's his brother-in-law. Basically, his story is well, my wife, and he'd be like, my sister made me give you this job. So basically, the sheriff of the town is a lackey for this Southern colonel. There is a mayor in that town, and the mayor sometimes shows up, but is just feckless and nobody. This town is run by Boss Hogg, and anything that needs to get done, he sends out his lackey, the sheriff, Roscoe P. Coltrane, to just bumble through all of the plot lines here. It's a look at small town and systematic corruption that is telling, but also hilarious. And, oh my gosh, what's the guy's name? James Best?
No, that's Batman. Isn't that?
No, that's Adam West.
Adam West, never mind.
Is it James Best?
Oh, James Best is Roscoe. Yeah.
That's his name, right?
You're right.
Okay,
You're right.
I should have looked it up before. But James Best he's incredible. And to see the comedic role that this guy plays, and it's always funny because he was a Shakespearean actor, right? Much like Patrick Stewart was a Shakespearean actor, and then his big break was on Star Trek, where he had to say all these ridiculous things and stuff. James Best was a Shakespearean actor, and he took this role, and it lasted for 10 years. Iconic. Everybody now knows this guy as the bumbling, goofy sheriff from Dukes of Hazzard. But a guy like that brings 110% no matter what he's doing. So Boss Hogg, Roscoe P. Coltrane, Dukes of Hazzard, just makes me happy to think about villains. My number one.
I love it.
This is great. Yeah.
I'm not going to keep it light like that, though. For my last one, and I'm happy to be closing out the top 5 villain segment, my number one is the gentleman, of course, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, season 4, episode 10, Hush.
Yes.
I will not rewatch this episode. I think, Analese, you rewatch it every time.
All the time.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
No, it scares me too much. Just the image of them, it's just too much. These are ghouls that steal voices. People can't scream, so then they can cut out their hearts and steal these hearts. The theme of it, though, the lesson is this, that language has its limits to disrupt society, so how important it is to communicate. There's a bigger lesson in that. Just the way they were portrayed, these bald humanoids that never spoke, and they grinned, kind of speaking of Joker, grin. They hovered a foot above the ground. They were silent. They had yellow blood, just true to their name. They're elegant, they're the gentleman, but they're deadly.
Just deadly evil. I mean, that episode has so many layers of complexity.
Yes.
You have the dream with the little sing-song rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
That is horror genre and also part of Buffy's prophecy that they're trying to figure out. You have the stealing of the voices so no one can scream, and the figuring out that they need 7 hearts. It's a quest for the gentleman. You have no idea of their origins. You get a little bit of the characters of Buffy in a very short sequence when Giles has them in the college lecture hall. Then you get a little bit of Buffy love there and their characters screaming out. And then, there are the bigger pieces about society. I think of the early scene when Willow and Buffy are walking and they shake their heads, the dude who's selling the whiteboards for $10. And the next scene they're wearing them, even though they're disgusted by it. There's all these little things about society. And then the overarching thing is Buffy and Riley finally figuring out who each other's secret identity is. And when they get their voices back, and this episode ends with, we've got to talk, and it's just silence. There's so many. It is such a good episode, no matter how scary it is. And I forget how scary it is. I'm watching it, I'm like, oh gosh, this is scary. No, I just actually rewatched it the other day. It's so good.
Hi there. Rob Cooper, known and notorious Buffy the Vampire Slayer hater here. I will say that this is probably one of the best Buffy the Vampire Slayer episodes ever. I wish the whole show was this good. As far as executing on a Monster of the Week episode of a show, this nails it from top to bottom.
And it almost saved season 4, I think. Because it's a surprise of how good it is when it comes about, when the show is stumbling with them transitioning into college. It's stumbling. Buffy's maybe entering this new relationship with this new dude after all the heartbreak with Angel the season before. You're not quite sure where it's going, and this episode turns the corner. And then it's light speed with better episodes the rest of the season. It's all the good things.
And speaking of watching Return to Oz that I mentioned earlier, and the monkeys as henchmen, the henchmen and the gentlemen are also equally as creepy.
They are.
as the
They're
monkeys.
low to the
in
ground,
Return
and they
Off.
have
They're
broken
they're
straight
such an
jackets
opposite,
and
right? That's like that dichotomy of the gentleman just floating there elegantly, perfectly straight, and then on the ground, just the writhing, out of control chaos monkeys. So good.
love it.
Absolutely.
Great choice, Joan.
Excellent choices for all, and I know we all have plenty more to talk about, and that will be our bonus episode next week for Patreon subscribers. So get online, patreon.com/nerdbestfriends, get you a $3 membership, and get next week's bonus episode with even more awesome, scary, or funny villains. So let's start with our awesome Dr. Intern Joan. What's the nerdiest thing you did this week?
All right. Another nerd fact about Joan. I really love reality television, but like more competition ones. Amazing Race, as of this recording, started last week. And teams compete. They race across the world. They do these challenges. It exposes them to other cultures. I'm particularly interested in the nerd pair. There's a nerd pair playing this game that play D&D regularly. I know nothing about D&D. I listen to you all, and maybe one day. But they are likening
It'll
this
happen.
to their, right?
Hellmouth Con.
They are likening this to their real life D&D adventure. So like they're talking about stuff as they go along. So I'm excited. I hope they don't lose. And then
You're going to have to tell us if they ever roll a D20 to make a decision when they're faced with a fork.
I will keep you updated. I
Yes,
just think it was
because that's
fun.
what I would do.
All right. I just think it was fun. They have all kinds of people all the time. They have cheerleaders and dancers, and they had marching band pair a couple of times ago, and they were stellar, like character wise. So I love these for them this time.
Good
Wonderful.
for you. All right, I'm going to go next.
How about you, Rob? Yeah.
A while ago, we did our Dungeons and Dragons episode, and I had talked about how I was trying to get all of the like special edition covers of the new books that came out. I decided like for this edition, I'm going to like really try to go to the local store and get the fancy edition. And I had missed out on the Dungeon Master's Guide. So now I'm following on eBay and trying to find the book when it comes down in price. But there was another adventure, and it was released at the end of 5th edition, and it is therefore 6th edition compatible. Like you could see they've been creeping into it for a little while. And I said, oh my gosh, I want to play that adventure. It looks really cool. It looks it's like right up my alley. And it is called, and I have the special edition right here, Vecna, Eve of Ruin.
Look at that
you can
cover.
see the book, and
That's
I happened
pretty.
to notice it as I was looking, because if you stare like really closely, there's like a little bent on the corner. Somebody dropped it. So it was
Yeah.
cheap. So instead of being like $150, it was like $40. I'm like, yes,
Wow.
please.
Yeah.
Because I was going to buy it anyway. Whatever you do, don't spoil yourself on Vecna, Eve of Ruin, Analese, because this is
That's
what
going to be our
comes
campaign.
after Rime of the Frost Maiden. And we're going
Okay, I
through.
won't read it.
It's so amazing. It's like it was written for me. So what they did was, it's basically a love letter to 5th edition. It's a multiverse hopping adventure to find, guess what? The Rod of 7 Parts, the actual real Rod of 7 Parts. And so as the characters, you basically stargate into all of the different areas that made up the adventures of 5th edition. So like you'll jump to Chult, where you have to go find something. You'll jump to Barovia, where the Curse of Strahd was, to like go get a thing. You're going to jump to Icewind Dale and the Rime of the Frost Maiden to go find a part of the thing. It basically is like this montage of 10 years of the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons to like wrap everything up, which I love to do anyway. And it's the Rod of 7 Parts story, and it's got all this stuff. I'm over the moon. I can't wait. We are definitely playing this adventure. It's going to be so fun. And I got the super fancy, cool gold edition.
That's
and
awesome.
I'm all stoked.
Man, I want to get to that game now.
Yep. I know. We got to stop
Wow.
messing around.
We're not messing around. It was musical March, so
That's true. I don't know.
that's
when we're doing
exciting.
it.
That sounds really cool.
It's going to be great.
I'm jealous. I'll do a twofer right now, and I'm just going to briefly say that we recently went to the theaters and watched The Monkey, which is, of course, based off of Stephen King's short story from Skeleton Crew, and it was surprisingly good in the dark humor way. Like, it's so over-the-top gory that it's not scary. It made me laugh. It's so over-the-top, and it's exactly like the short story, and I was really impressed. I don't think it's going to break the bank. I don't think it's going to be a memorable Stephen King adaptation, but I'm glad they did it. But I'm going to say the nerdiest thing I did, I really nerded out about this. It's work-related, but you'll see why I'm bringing it up. The quick version of this story is that my district gives all the schools what they're calling attendance incentive money, and they've given us this campaign called Everyday Matters, and we've got to come up with creative ways to use this attendance incentive money to incentivize good attendance. So when you're an elementary school teacher and you've got 250 kids in your elementary school, they do really cutesy things like chocolate milk Mondays.
Yeah, it's the Kona ice truck. It's always the Kona ice truck around here.
I have 10 times the amount of students and I get a bigger budget because of it, but they're not going to get excited for milk chocolate Mondays at the high school level. So we've been trying to figure out ways, and we've done things like raffled off Apple earbuds and Beats headphones because I can use the money to buy bigger prizes, but I figured it out. I finally figured it out. We have a class called Campus Culture with the student voice, and they go out and get ideas from other students. We bought a crane machine that's going to be customized and logoed for my school. And then I got custom tokens ordered with the mascot's face on it that when they win an attendance incentive award, they get that. I have the machine set to play till you win. So they're going to get a token and they're going to get to go to the crane machine to win a prize. And it's going to be like water bottles, t-shirts. There'll be an empty Apple earbuds box so they can go after the earbuds. There'll be those the plastic balls that have the loops that you can try to grab with the crane that'll have a yearbook, coupon for a yearbook inside. I'm so geekily excited that I got to order a crane machine and talk to this company. And I sat down with our communications guy to max out the layout, and he made the logos so that it would fit on this crane. I will share a picture when we get it because I am super excited about it.
That's a really fun idea. How fun.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So I was the nerd arcade person in me is we're getting a crane machine, and the kids are all like, what? So it's going to be a splash, and it'll be at the school until 10, 15 years from now when it finally breaks down.
Yeah.
We're going to use it to
social media things too. Yes. When the kids are pulling out their prizes and everything.
Yes.
That's a great idea. Down to the detail of the custom token with Willie the Wildcat's face on it. Very cool.
I'm excited. I'm super nerdy. I think I'm more excited about it than the kids are right now, but they'll get more excited when it's there and they can see it and they're like, wait, how do you get a token? So attendance incentive awards, we're going to randomly pick some kids to get themselves a prize every month. So it's going to be cool.
Super cool.
Can you believe we are at the end of season 4? It has just flown by. What an amazing season we've had. So, next episode, we will recap our season's best moments and talk about our nerdy summer plans, plus amazing plans for our Patreons during the off season. What's coming for season 5? Well, you're going to have to catch our next episode in 2 weeks to find out. Remember our call to action. Hit that subscribe or follow button on your device. Spread the word with those sweet 5-star ratings. Connect with us on social media at NerdBestFriends or NBF Podcast on Blue Sky, or send us an email to podcast@nerdbestfriends.com. So let's grow this nerd family and keep geeky fun going strong. Dr. Intern Joan, the notorious DIJ, it is always great to have you on the show. Our listeners agree, and having you join us for your top 5 villains was really cool.
Yeah, this was my first top 5. I loved it.
Yep. Many more to come.
I had a really fun time. Thank you guys for investing and bringing some cool perspectives and some villains that I definitely never would have thought of.
And catch even more on our Patreon episode next week. Patreon.com/nerdbestfriends, and we'll see you at the subscriber episode.
It's going to be more fun. $3. Drop it. You're going to love it. I noticed halfway through that Joan's box says notorious DIJ.
You just noticed it?
He had to not say anything. It was it was really funny.
I love it. It's the first thing I saw when I logged in, but
oh my god, I didn't notice it till our number 2s.